I'm delighted to welcome today's guest to the show, a BAFTA-winning actor and writer. You'll know him from starring in programmes like Pirates of the Caribbean and The Office, I should say films like Pirates of the Caribbean and Game of Thrones. He's written 2 books for children and now he's back with a book for adults. In a way, Mackenzie Crook, welcome.
Thank you very much.
I was trying to figure out, your book is so beautiful and such a beautiful presentation. If people are watching this, they'll be able to see this. It's called, as you can see, If Nick Drake Came to My House. We'll get into that in a second. And I say it's a children's book. It's not. It's for dreamers.
I'm still kind of trying to figure out what it is myself. It's masquerading as a children's book, but it isn't. Yes, yeah. Well, yeah.
Why don't you introduce us to Nick Drake? I mean, I've recalled the cooler people when I was younger, like Nick Drake. I wasn't one of them in that I didn't dislike him, but I just wasn't turned on to him because I wasn't cool enough. But definitely the proper musos loved Nick Drake.
Yes, and I think that's the reason why I sort of resisted listening to his music for so long. It was recommended to me by so many people, but you're right, by the cool people and by the people who I thought knew much better about music than I did, and I sort of considered it probably wasn't for me, and so I resisted until late 90s. I finally was forced into a corner and made to listen to his music, and of course I loved it immediately. It's very accessible and it's beautiful, lyrical, poetic music.
You were, 26 or 25 when you heard the music properly? And was it an awakening of sorts? I mean, did you feel yourself connecting straight away with the music?
Absolutely, yes. It's very personal and I mean, his story is as poignant and alluring as his music. He died at the age of 26, 50 years ago this month,
yes.
In fact, in 1974. Before he'd known any sort of success, before he'd really sold any albums, they weren't noticed during his lifetime. And it's only since then that his reputation has grown and grown. And as you say, musos, they all cite him as an influence.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's still a lot of people out there that don't know of his music, and they should listen, because it's not hard work as I imagined it was.
Yeah. You said in the past that you thought it might be having to watch some godforsaken indie movie that from Sweden, that you thought, please, life's too short. But once you got into it, and you maybe at the right age as well, where you were open to musical suggestion and guidance.
And there's so very little of it, really. 3 albums, so it's not like there's a massive back catalogue that you got to trawl through to find the good bits.
Yeah.
3 perfect albums. I hesitate to say folk, but I suppose it is folky music. It's him playing his guitar and singing in this beautiful lilting voice.
Well, let's go to then books and reading, which is terra firma for me, but I think for you also, because if we go back to 1946, this critical book in your life was published, and I hadn't heard of it until I was reading your book and why you wrote it, and it's called If Jesus Came to My House. Now, before people think we're about to have a revivalist meeting here live on the air, we can assure them quickly that this is a story relating to your childhood and your father, and a book that landed in the house that had a huge influence on you.
Yes, yeah, it was a book that my father received in 1946, I think, when he was 5 years old. And yeah, it's a Sunday school book. It's a picture book with very simple illustrations telling the story of how this little boy opens his front door one morning to find Jesus also as a little boy standing there, and they spend the day together.
Yeah. And
though I've never been religious, this book always transfixed me. The idea of someone turning up that you could never really meet, and getting to spend some quality time with them.
To make them ordinary, relatable, to human, if you like.
Exactly,
And it's a very sweet notion that really stuck with you, obviously.
Yes, it really did. And it came to mind again recently. And a few people have asked me, well, why did you do it about Nick Drake?
Yeah.
And that surprised me, because he was the only person that it occurred to me that the book could be about.
Is that right?
Yeah,
of all the mentors or heroes
I mean, I'm a big fan of Nirvana and Kurt Cobain, but I don't know if I'd want Kurt Cobain to turn up at my... That would be a different kind of day.
A different kind of night.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the idea, I don't know, you flatter yourself that you'd get on really well with your heroes and that you'd become best friends. And yeah, I guess I've done that a bit, flatter myself that had I met Nick Drake that we'd get on really well. But that's the sort of the fantasy of the book.
But that's the trick of art, isn't it? Whether it's making a TV show or a movie or writing a book or a song or a poem or a play, you connect with them in a way that you go, I think I'd really like that person. Yes. And more importantly, I think that person would really like me.
Exactly. Yeah.
and you kind of think Nick Drake would love me. He'd love to. He'd actually probably write a song about me after a cup of pot of tea in the bedsit. Do you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah,
it's not ego or vanity. It's just fantasy.
Yeah, of course.
And that's where you were going.
And that's why you connect with your heroes. Yeah.
What kills me is that my version of that is Paul McCartney.
Yes, it's right.
And I live quite near him now, and I regularly fantasize about the knocking the door, going, "Okay, cup of tea." Do you know what I mean? Never going to happen. But you were in the video with him.
One of my best showbiz anecdotes.
Tell us the anecdote. We need to hear it, Mackenzie.
I was working in Hollywood a year when. No, it's awful already.
I'm impressed, but I've had that very, very unattractive trait of jealousy as you speak. But keep going.
And a friend of mine was in a Radiohead video, and we were invited to a Radiohead party after the Grammys. I was there, she introduced me to Radiohead, and it was lovely, and I was on cloud nine. And then who should walk into the party but Paul McCartney? We'd just worked together. He sort of scanned the party, didn't recognise anyone apart from me, so he made a beeline for me.
From Pirates of the Caribbean?
No, from this video.
From the video, so he makes a beeline for you.
Gave me a hug, and I was able to introduce my friend to Paul McCartney and say, trumped you. There.
You did. What a week to use that expression.
Yeah, gosh.
But no, we can't do that, avoid it. But so you were in the video for Dance Tonight?
Yes, that's right.
How did you end up in that? Was it?
I don't know. It was directed by Michel Gondry, the director who did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh,
I don't know if it was he that picked me. But yeah, it was that was a fun couple of days.
I bet.
And yeah.
And Natalie Portman
of course. Yeah.
Where did you film it?
I can't even remember, but I know that I brought my son along. He was a baby at the time, and Paul played frog chorus for Jude.
You did frog chorus?
Yeah. And Jude had to remind me of the lyrics because he was a big fan.
Boom, boom, boom. That.
Yeah.
What a treat! Now, and the fact that your son is called Jude.
Yes.
To Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
He played the frog chorus.
Yeah.
He had another choice, didn't he? There.
True.
And that wasn't a Beatle-related child naming situation.
It kind of was, yeah. I mean, I'm a big book fan like yourself, and Thomas Hardy is one of my favourite authors, and Jude the Obscure. Yeah. But then we were also living just off of Abbey Road when we had Jude, and we're both Beatles fans. So yeah, there's a few different reasons.
That's amazing. And can I ask you, as a books fan, then your daughter Scout?
Yes.
Is that To Kill a Mockingbird?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Oh, my God, this is great. I'd like to hang out with you. I also love this idea that you have of walking around London or thereabouts and having imaginary conversations with Charles Dickens, or closer to home for me, Oscar Wilde.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. I mean, this city is so interesting for stories. The walls can talk, if the walls could talk.
Yeah.
Tell me about a little bit about that. I
love Charles Dickens, and perhaps the that whole concept has come from the If Jesus Came to My House book I was telling you about. But I love Charles Dickens. I love London and his London books, and often when I'm walking around London, I will do so with a ghost of Charles Dickens at my side and point out the things that have changed since he was around. And the Oscar Wilde thing, I told a story recently about a pillar box near my house in North London, which was saved in the 80s from being replaced because it had once for a time been used by Oscar Wilde to post his letters. And so I stop and have a conversation with Oscar whenever I go to post my letters. I'm fascinated by the ghosts of the city and the view from this building where you are now.
Look over your shoulder. You can see Tower Bridge there, and it tells a story. The cityscape.
Exactly, and constantly evolving. You look out there, and you're quite hard pushed to find old buildings. They're constantly being renewed. Yes,
it's lovely. Before we go, of course, just reference to some of your back catalogue, whether it's The Office or Pirates of the Caribbean or what have you. How do they sit with you now, looking back? As what age? You must be 50.
53.
53. Yeah. What are you thinking as you look back at them and think that? Are they past, or do you say, oh gosh, I love watching them, or I'm proud of them, or where are you at?
Yeah, those the main ones. I'm really pleased with. The Office was one that opened all the doors for me, and I'm very fond of that. And I can watch that, with the time pass. I don't know if I could for a while afterwards, but
because
I can see myself acting. Everyone else seems to be completely natural, and I can see all these weird quirks and things that I'm doing. Pirates of the Caribbean, again, that was 20 years ago, and that was so much fun. I mean, I look back at it through rose-tinted glasses, but it was great fun. I'm really lucky to have been afforded all the opportunities to do what I've done. Yeah,
your kids are often the best audience you'll ever meet, and the toughest critics you'll ever sit at the dinner table with. So, are they looking back at The Office? Are they looking back at Pirates of the Caribbean? Are they admiring of you, or are they critical of you?
Funnily enough, I was speaking to my daughter Scout recently, and she's never seen The Office, and she's only seen the first of the Pirates of the Caribbean ones. And it's not because she's ashamed; she's just sort of not really interested in Dad's work.
Yeah. Do you know what? Sometimes I think your kids don't want to share you, and they get a version of you that only they can have and will ever get.
Okay. Yes.
There maybe there's an element of that, and she's saying, they think they can have The Office and whatever, but I've got Dad.
That's a good point. Yeah, it might be something along those lines. But yeah, she watches TV, but I'm not top of her list of things to watch.
Well, I'll say as a fervent fan, thank you very much for your back catalogue so far, because it always brought a lot of fun and enjoyment to our world. And you're very harsh on yourself as a critic. So your acting, it's just marvellous. Congratulations on If Nick Drake Came to My Head. It is a beautiful book.
Thank you.
The illustrations, or did you do the illustrations?
Yes,
well, okay,
yes.
They really are stunning.
Thank you.
I'm not just plumossing, it's a true story. Mackenzie Crook, it's been really lovely having you on the show.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.